Camera number 416 is the Balda Baldessa 1B. I have already reviewed the 1A, and the 1B is pretty much the same camera, except it now has a built-in light meter that will allow you to measure the light, and you have to manually input the light value that's returned by the light meter into the various controls. So we'll go through that as we go through the various features of the camera. So it features a 45mm f2.8 Western R lens, and from my previous experience it was a very good lens, so I'm hoping for great things with this camera as I go out with it. So looking at the front, we have our shutter button, which is actuated here. We then have our focus ring around the front here, and that moves the lens elements out. We then have a little lever here that will allow us to rotate our aperture, and then once that locks in, we can then actually just turn the whole thing and turn the shutter speed as well. So the way the camera works in a sense is that the light meter returns a light meter value, so we just basically rotate it until our little red triangle, if I zoom in here, our little red triangle occupies the same space as the needle. That then returns a value, so on this occasion it's 9. So we then go to the front of our camera and place 9 under the little red triangle here. Again, I'll try and zoom in. So let's just do that by pressing the little plastic tipped lever. I'm going to have to just move that. There we go. So there's 9 under the red triangle. And so then we've locked in the exposure. So now we have the option of choosing a series of shutter and aperture combinations. So with light value 9, we can go all the way down to f2.8, which corresponds to 1/60th of a second, or we can go all the way up to f16, and then we have 1/2 of a second. And we can choose whatever we want to do depending on what effect we want to achieve with our photography. So once having got the light meter calibrated for the particular situation, we can then just focus, as I say, by sliding that. Through the viewfinder, we have quite a bright viewfinder which just has a grid for us to look through, and so we can just then, it's nice that the focus ring is nicely positioned, and then you just follow that through with the shutter actuation. But where do you wind the film on? Because there's no wind on. Well, like the Baldessa 1A, that's on the base of the camera. We have to rotate that clockwise, and we also have our film counter as well that's built into that mechanism, and then we can fold that down and take our image. Wind on the film, take the image. Quite a nice smooth, again, I do like with the Baldessas, they have a nice smooth action in terms of film wind on. Once our film has been exposed, we can then just rewind our film, and the way we do that, we have a lever here that we rotate to the R position, and then that pops up the film rewind crank, which again is on the bottom, and then we have an arrow in the direction that we should wind our film back into the canister. So that obviously disengages the film advance, and then we're good to go. So once having done that, we can put it back to the T position. To take the film out and put it in, the whole back comes off, and we have two little buttons that we have to press, and then there we go, there we have some film already in there. Again, we just have to make sure that it goes into the film spool, and the film rewind crank doesn't actually come out, but the film chamber is sufficient so that it allows you to pop it in that way. There we go. One thing I did forget is that before we put it on T, we have to place the film rewind crank in its place, and then that will lock that into position, so don't forget to do that. And then assuming we've got our film back in our canister, just make sure we put the left bit on first, and then that just simply closes. And that's pretty much it. 2 lugs for a camera strap if we have that, if we want to do that. It is a rangefinder camera, so there is that little rangefinder window there. I didn't find this one worked particularly well. It was difficult to see in quite bright light, so I tended to guess the distance. And our film speed, of course, I forgot to mention when I talked about the light meter, we have to set our film speed as well first before we use the light meter, because that will obviously change the exposure. And we have a cold shoe as well on the top plate. And then on the bottom we have a tripod mount and a film memo, which really is just a dial that we turn round. Okay, and that's it. So I have, as I said, I had high expectations. Were they met? Well, let's have a look at some of the images made with the Balda Baldessa 1B, which has been camera number 416.